Welcome to this video on Our Lady of Pontmain. It's the year 1871. The place is a small village of Pontmain in northwestern France. And the Prussian army occupies most of France and are headed westward towards the Atlantic. But things are not how they appear in France because heaven is about to intervene with the appearance of Mary as both a loving mother and as the powerful, history-changing Queen of Heaven. It's the morning of January 17th, 1871. The Prussian troops are at the outskirts of the large regional capital known as Laval. The city is preparing to pay heavy military assessment levied against it, 3 million francs in gold. As writes the French commander, the rout of fleeing soldiers is unimaginable. They're deaf to the command of the officers. 2 of them have been shot down in their tracks, but this example has had no effect on the others. In the 39 years that I have been in the service, never have I found myself in such a distressing situation. And with this as the desperate plight of France as the backdrop, it's on the evening of the same day, January 17th. People are very anxious, but everyone is going about work as usual. In a barn in the middle of town, 2 boys, Eugene and Joseph Barbadet, are helping their father pound stalks to feed to the horses. Some minutes before 6 p.m., taking advantage of a break from work, Eugene leaves the barn and sees in the sky a lady dressed in a dark blue robe, sprinkled with golden stars. She spreads her lowered hands in a gesture of welcome and smiles. Joseph comes along a few minutes later and also sees the lady. But the father of the boys sees nothing. Undaunted, they call their mother, who also fails to see anything. There is nothing to it, declare the parents, and the boys are to get back to work and then come in for supper. After a quick meal, the boys still see the beautiful lady. So the sisters of the school are called. Again, the nuns, in this case, see nothing. But there are 2 little girls who accompany the nuns, and they do see the beautiful lady and describe the star-studded robe and the dark veil and the crown of gold. And this is typical of our mother's apparitions. She often appears to the young and the innocent because they are perfect witnesses. They cannot make up things that have been told to them, messages that are given by our Blessed Mother to them, because they're unsophisticated and they would not know the content of the messages themselves or understand them. So they're perfect witnesses. The other parallel that I see is that the children describe her repeatedly as the beautiful lady. And that's exactly the term used at Tre Fontane by the children of Bruno Cornacchiola, where they repeatedly said, "She is the beautiful lady," and repeated over and over again, "Beautiful lady, beautiful lady, beautiful lady." And the father also did not see the lady immediately. But later, when he did see her, he was converted on the spot. And thus illustrating not just the loving appearance of her mother, but her power also, just as she is showing here at Pontmain. Now, the news of this apparition spread quickly. People gathered with them, and also there was a priest to join them. The Magnificat was intoned, and Eugene shouted as soon as it started, "Look what she's doing." Slowly, a great white streamer unfolded, and in large letters, they read, "Pray, my children. God will answer your prayers very soon. He will not allow you to be touched." The priest then intoned the hymn, "My Sweet Jesus," which was a local hymn often used. At that, a red cross with the wounded body of Christ appeared before the Virgin who held it. At the top, in large red letters, was written, "Jesus Christ." The crowd burst into tears while the priest ordered night prayers to be said. A white veil hid the vision while Our Lady smiled at the children. A smile which haunted them all through life with its immense beauty. Then, something of sorrow, appearing to be a farewell, appeared on the faces of Eugene and Joseph. And the priest said quickly, "Can you still see anything?" "No, it is quite finished," they replied. As extraordinary as the apparition was, so was the result of the apparition. At the moment that the message was being written in the sky, a messenger passing in front of the crowd had shouted, "You may well pray. The Prussians are at Laval," but they never entered it. On January 17, 1871, the Prussians surprisingly halt their advance across France, and they were only about 30 miles from the English Channel at that point. And at the time, the Prussian commander stated that they encountered an invisible Madonna barring the way. And this is reminiscent also of a great French saint, Saint Joan of Arc. And when we think of the French saints, many outside France, we think of Saint Bernadette and Saint Therese, and perhaps the mystic Marie-Julie Jahenny. But we kind of forget about Saint Joan of Arc. And the reason why I see something of a foreshadowing in the life of Saint Joan of Arc with this apparition is there's two things. One, the protection provided to France. Saint Joan of Arc was the shield maiden of France against the English. And also, just as the enemy of France, they provided testimony which convinced others of the sanctity of Saint Joan of Arc. So the enemy here of France, the Prussians, they provide testimony to the authenticity of this apparition in Pontmain, France. Also, I mentioned that Pontmain is about 30 miles from the Channel. It's on the outskirts of Brittany. And Brittany was described also as a place of refuge by Marie-Julie Jahenny. There seemed to be something special about this region where not only is protection being given to France, but also very clearly to Brittany, because the Prussians actually marched all the way across France, just to the outskirts of Brittany. And continuing with this description of what occurred after this apparition, it's only 11 days later, in January 28th, that the armistice was signed at Versailles. And only 13 months later, not even fully 13 months, the Bishop of Laval, the local bishop, who's responsible for deciding on which apparitions would be approved by the church or not, stated We judge that the Immaculate Mary, Mother of God, has truly appeared on January 17th, 1871, to Eugene Barbadet, Joseph Barbadet, Francois Ricard, and Jean-Marie Lebeau in the hamlet of Pontmain. I hope you enjoyed this video on our Blessed Mother's apparitions. And as always, God bless.